Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Papaloy. It's been a while. I think the last one we did was I mean, this is the earliest podcast I think we've done. It's probably the hottest too.
Yeah,
It's a
was
bit warm.
too long too.
Yeah.
Months.
It's definitely been too long. The last one we did
Yeah.
was about the homeschooling stuff,
Oh yeah.
and time has just been very scarce, at least on my
Yeah.
side.
Pretty busy, yeah, with the homeschooling.
Yeah, let's do a quick maybe if you want to skip to the main topic today, which is going to be about Papaloy's journey on his religion
Journey.
journey. Yeah, basically going around the circle, man.
Well,
From being born to the Catholic Church, then being
uh,
a non-believer, and then going all the way full circle back to the church. So
it's
it's going to be interesting to hear your
pilgrimage back
side.
home.
Yeah. It's an exciting topic. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. But if you want to skip to that, you can check the timestamps. We're definitely gonna do some life updates because it's been so long. Do you have
Yeah.
any thing that you're let's do it like this. We did this before. Kind of give an overview of like what's fatherhood like right now for you? Like what age is your kid? Kind of what's been happening mostly. What are you thinking about mostly in terms of fatherhood and your kid?
Yeah, that's it's interesting because she's turning 4 now, and it's like every time we have a recording, it's like just like a time lapse of some sort. So, so yeah, there are definitely a lot of changes happening. Not
You were
just
just starting the school
yeah,
journey, right?
yeah,
The last
and
one.
now we're
You're in
almost
it.
yeah, it's gonna be summer next year, so
You're
this
in the
will be the first
matrix,
year.
bro. How is the institution so far?
So far so good, although I don't enjoy the morning traffic and
Sure.
going back and
Oh my
forth to the
God.
school. So
Yeah.
it's one thing I'm still getting used to. You're free from that, so I guess it's not your problem anymore.
Yeah. For now, we're good.
Yeah, for now. But other than that, it's pretty good. I mean, it's a great school, and she's enjoying it for now. And it's the usual for preschoolers: coloring, letters, numbers, counting, socializing. It's one, and activities. They just had a Halloween event just a few days ago.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so
Yeah, yeah.
we just came in the usual costumes.
Mm-hmm.
We actually borrowed our costume from you guys. Thank you for
Oh, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah.
saved the day.
What are some of the things you've maybe come across that you find as a challenge in terms of this? Because it's just you're talking about like was it nursery, kinder? What is it?
Nursery.
Nursery, yeah. So is it there's probably not much challenging things at nursery
Yeah.
stage, right? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's like what, a couple hours or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
Do you notice any differences in terms of
uh,
her development? Like do you see her advancing in any specific areas of her life?
oh yeah, definitely. Like, there's so much in terms of personality changes, and yeah, it's like the terrible 3 or 2 stage. So,
Yeah. Is that a real thing for you guys?
well, yeah, kinda, but it's manageable. It's not as
Yeah.
bad as I thought it would be, but it's actually manageable. You just have to be firm, of course,
Hmm.
in terms of discipline.
Do you have discussions with other parents about that age? Because I've always wondered about that.
Mm,
Terrible twos was not something that we had. It wasn't a big issue in our upbringing.
mm.
Obviously, we only have one, so I only have
Yeah,
one
yeah.
reference point, right? So
So do I.
I've definitely heard of that.
Yeah.
But so is that something you've discussed with other parents, like how that behavioral stuff goes?
Yeah, they always mention it. Like, yeah, there's just a
Terrible twos.
terrible 2 stage. It's there, yeah, but it's not really that terrible from the
Yeah,
word itself. Terrible. It's not
yeah, yeah.
there. Sometimes I enjoy it actually when we have this back and forth argument with because you now have arguments, right? At that stage, if you notice that with a 2-year-old, 3-year-old,
Hmm.
they start to talk back. So of course, it's just a matter of communication. Sometimes I can't help it. Of course, I scream, but I try not to. I try to be patient as much as I can.
Hmm.
And especially when it's cleaning time, it's one thing that her and her mother do a lot. I'm not
Oh,
exactly
okay.
that Mr. Clean guy, so
Yeah. Well, the wife is a nurse, I guess.
yeah.
That's kind of
So
like
she
part of
like
her profession.
having a clean room always after playing, always organized. So that's one thing that you have to instill in her, just by listening. Yeah, you can't help it. It's chaotic, even if it's just one.
Yeah,
Can't imagine if you have like three,
I can't
four,
imagine
five.
it. Yeah.
But it's enjoyable. I mean, I enjoy it a lot.
The which part of it, like the schooling part, or you mean
I know. I
like
mean, this stage of
oh, the stage, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, sure.
development.
This development
Yeah,
stage, sure, sure,
I like it.
sure. Because they're starting to understand more things,
Yeah,
right?
and you can have. Sometimes I would be surprised even by how deep uh a certain conversation can go with your 3-year-old that I
Oh,
wouldn't
sure.
have expected. There are certain questions or even banters that would just surprise you.
Mm,
Like sometimes, we always talk about discussing theology with our kids, right?
sure.
So she started asking, like, is Jesus real? How come I can't see him?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's a theological question, and
sure.
at first you'd be like, how do I answer this question, or
Hmm.
how do I do I explain this to you that it's not all physical in terms of um examining proof of a belief, a certain belief or something, but you have
Mm.
to let them understand what the symbolism of Jesus means or something like
Yeah,
that.
and I
So
think
I got caught off guard
yeah,
actually with that
sure,
question.
sure. Yeah, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Yeah.
think at that stage they're still not they can understand things, but it's not like a complex,
Mm.
you know, you tell them something like the Holy Trinity and they're gonna be that's
Oh yeah,
probably a little bit over
yeah.
their development stage,
Even
right?
with
So
with myself, the Trinity sometimes can be, um, I don't know, hard to grasp.
sure.
We
I
grew
think
up as Christians, so
it's part of the struggle
yeah.
to practice any faith, right? Because there is that factor of faith. And then how do you actually explain something that is not so simple as whether it's there or not, right? And that's kind of like where they are in that development stage at
Mm.
nursery. It's like you see it or you don't. And then if you don't see it, like
Yeah,
how do you really grasp the concept at that stage? So but
yeah.
I think eventually you'll find ways to figure
Yeah,
to
that's
explain
the
it.
challenging part that I love about it. Like, if I were too firm or too, like, I would be screaming blasphemy or something to my daughter's
Yeah.
face. Just I just let it be, and then
I think even at 9 years old, in fourth grade, there's still
mm,
complex things like faith and
mm,
just like the personality traits that people are different,
yeah,
things like that are still social complex interactions can
mm,
be not so, because experience is also limited
mm,
even at 9 years old. So you don't get a whole broader perspective of how things
yeah,
work amongst other people. So it's that stage is like the beginnings of things to get excited about because they're starting to understand and then
yeah,
you can kind of like introduce things that are, just like the school does.
mm,
Every year it gets more and more complex,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's the same topic, but
Uh,
more and more complex every year.
yeah,
So it's kind of like that, right?
peeling more layers into the
Yeah. Yeah.
the questions, the deeper ones, especially death, even sometimes are discussed at that age. Like, why is this and that dead? Why is your mama dead? You have to
Yeah.
remind me all the time.
Oh man.
Thank you.
Like,
Why
where's
is your
grandma?
why is your mama dead? Why
Yeah.
is Jesus dead? Why is that?
Yeah. Have you come across a way to explain that, like about death?
In a way that, yeah, it's a cycle that I try to explain that, yeah, everything that comes goes also. We die. I always tell her I will die one day. Of course, I'm gonna not make it traumatic the discussing it, but it's a fact of life. So yeah, I even tell her even the food that you eat had to die for you to be able to survive. Like, your chicken, you think it wasn't walking just a while ago or a few
Yeah.
days ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
it has to die. So make it count,
Mm.
right? That's why when we bless our food, we ask we say in our prayers, like, bless this food that we are about to eat, so that we kind of like make it count. Like, okay, there's a sacrifice being made for the things that we consume, we eat. So every action, every movement should be geared towards making that sacrifice count. All of
Mm.
it, everything. So it's just a repetitive thing that we remind. I try to remind her. as much as I can. It's not always, but
Sure, sure. Yeah.
yeah, that's the goal at least.
Yeah, I think nature helps. You can always find good examples in nature
Mm.
when it comes to some of these more complex topics and perspectives, and because it's a limited perspective, you're just dealing with something that's not quite experienced a whole lot of depth. So you can go
Mm.
out and
Yeah, go
into the
out.
garden
Yeah.
and just be like, look at
You
this
see like
tree.
100 dead fall army worms there.
Yeah.
That's lots of because it's what's today? It's October. So you've noticed like there's a lot of army worms, right? So I
Yeah.
tell her, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it's a metamorphosis thing. So it starts out
Mm.
as army worms, turns into moths, and then
Yeah.
just like caterpillars turns into
Hmm.
butterflies. So I show
Yeah.
her
Uh-huh.
an army worm. Some of them are dead there. So there's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
lots of dead things out here if you just notice them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's a good idea. Like always go out in the
Yeah, always go
garden,
out to
yeah,
nature.
to nature.
And that's why the classic example of your family tree is a tree, right?
Mm.
Because there's so many examples just with that one type of um object. I don't want to call it object,
Yeah.
not just an object, but I mean that one piece of nature can give you so much insight, and it's something graspable for the kid because there are fruits that fall,
Mm.
that die, that's sprout seeds. So there are so many lessons that can
Yeah.
be learned from nature, and that's the great messages that we have all around us. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Cycle of
the
life. Even
cycle of
just by
life.
walking, when you're walking like in a dense part, not really a forest, even just here, there's lots of trees. So you can notice like there's leaves underneath, and then
Hmm.
there's the top layer. So you can explain to them like in the forest, there's a top layer, there's
Yeah.
the ground layer where it's
Hmm.
underneath, even the leaves are like mycelium,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
worms.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's life
Everything
everywhere.
has a part in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good segue when if we want to get into let's get right into it because it's already time is already
Oh
started.
yeah.
We got a limited
Okay.
time today. It's not like we can
It's
just
3:33
keep
too.
we can't let's get into it, man.
3:33.
That's the sign. That's the sign to Papaloy to tell us.
Oh my god,
Um
exactly. See?
yeah, exactly. There you go.
Oh my
So
goodness.
let's get into it, man. What would be some of the earlier memories that you have of the Catholic Church? Probably, yeah, whatever the earliest memories are.
Maybe as early as I can remember, since it's been like a big part of our lives, basically. Especially if you grew up at that time. Well, we didn't have an internet, of course. We had television, but no cable yet. So our activities revolved
Yeah.
around how
No.
our parents or grandparents would dictate it to us.
Oh.
Like, okay, we go out, and then at almost sundown, you gather together and then have dinner. And then in October, especially, we have what we call month of the Holy Rosary, right? So every day,
Mm.
our of course our this is a common story, especially among Filipinos. It's like we gather around and have a rosary. It's still October, so yeah, still ongoing
Okay.
month of the Holy Rosary. So our Lola or our grandma would gather us together. You've did you ever visit in October before when you were
I don't think so.
okay? So but every October our grandmother would do that, and then we would gather around and do the Rosary, and then she would make us
Okay.
uh take turns,
Take turns. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
leading the mysteries,
Hmm.
and then whoever attends or completes the whole month would get some type of a prize.
Okay,
A
nice.
good way
Yeah.
of luring you
Yeah.
into
Keep
that.
you interacting.
Yeah, keep you interacting. So in a way, it never got even lost to me, even if I stopped practicing
Sure.
the faith for a very long time. But as early as I can remember, it was always there. There are icons in your house. Every Catholic home always has at least a picture
Oh yeah.
of the
Oh yeah.
Virgin Mary
Hmm.
or saints or Jesus or the cross. So
Hmm.
it's very common.
Every
So
household will have an
yeah.
altar,
So
have baby Jesus is
so as
there.
early as I can remember, I would always go, "What's this? What's that?" It's Santo Niño,
Yeah.
that whoever saint that you venerate. So it's always been there.
Yeah, for us, I definitely remember the nights before going to bed. Literally kneeled on the floor,
Mm.
and then my mother, she had a what they called an altar, right? It's just basically statues of different religious figures of
Oh.
the church. Mother Mary would be there, of course, and
Mm.
the Santo Niño. And we would have to say our fathers, our Hail Marys,
Mm.
kiss the Santo Niño,
Yeah.
right? And then you go to bed, and man, it was um I guess I don't know if it was the way they had us do it, but it was
Mm.
something that was more like a chore.
Mm,
I
yeah,
never
yeah,
I never appreciated
yeah.
the whole practice.
So at times I did feel that way too. Like, yeah, that's a good word to use, like a chore. Like, ah, here we go again, man.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
could have just
yeah.
played my board games
All right.
or read some comics instead.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have to do this.
Yeah,
Or even Sundays, right? When we go
sure.
to mass.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was your kind of your earlier memories. And of course, did you have Sunday school too or
No,
here?
no, that
No, no.
we did not. I did
I
not
guess
have, yeah. And unfortunately, but I don't know with your experience, but
yeah, yeah.
some people they like Sunday school. I don't know.
Mm,
Probably it was good for me at that time in my head because I didn't have to like have an obligation to
yeah, yeah.
go somewhere on a
We
Sunday.
had catechism. It was on like a
Oh,
Saturday
really?
morning.
So you
Like Saturday
actually had
morning.
catechism
Yeah, yeah.
at that age.
Yeah,
Nice.
Saturday morning you'd
Uh,
go to the to the I think the church had a school at it, if I
uh,
remember right. So they, it was nice because they also had a playground, which is
oh,
the
okay.
part I would always look forward to. But
Uh,
yeah, it was like Saturday morning catechism, and then you go play in the playground.
was
And
this in California?
yeah, that was in
Oh, okay.
California.
Nice.
I forget what grade we stopped, but
Uh,
at some point early on, and we stopped doing that.
how was it? Like the whole experience, was it mixed bag?
I think it was a lot like class.
Okay.
They didn't give us like homework or
Yeah,
anything, but I
another
mean,
chore, a set
yeah,
of chores, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, that's kind of how I felt about it. Because you Saturday morning, you kind of wanna just kind of watch cartoons, right? Stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that.
Because Saturdays are like our cartoon day. That
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
only day
That was the only
where
day.
cartoons were consistent,
Yeah,
at least for morning.
yeah. You couldn't just hop online
Yeah.
and watch whatever you want. You gotta,
You gotta wait for the schedule, right?
Saturday morning was
Yeah.
it, man. You know what I mean?
You can't even skip the commercials because it's
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So everyone was into Saturday morning cartoons,
Yeah.
Garfield and whatever it was
Uh,
at that time. But
G.I. Joe.
yeah, so that I would assume that was probably like grade school for you, right? Like your
Mm,
your memories or something
yeah.
like that. And
I didn't
then
have catechism. Even Bible study sessions, I didn't have it. It was more like just going to mass every Sunday.
yeah.
And then
Do you remember at what point did you start to question things like
as,
why?
as I think even when I was in grade school, I was already starting to question a lot of stuff. Some even basic ones like how did this all begin? Or is this particular thing real or not? Like even if you ask about ghosts or Santa Claus, it's a question
Mm,
of
sure,
same
sure, sure.
in a way in nature. Are these things real?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of superstitions, right, in the
Uh-huh.
Philippines.
Oh
We have
yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
balags, the duendes,
Yeah, yeah,
some of
yeah.
our folklore. So you would ask,
Hmm.
is that even real? I think it
Right.
is. Might be, probably not.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Santa Claus because
Yeah.
that's a big, obviously for the Catholic religion or Christians in general,
Yeah.
that's obviously Christmas is a huge celebration. And then the story of Santa Claus and how parents kind of run with the
Yeah, the
I
whole.
feel like it's more retail now.
Oh yeah,
So it's
of
like
course. They hijacked
it's
it.
yeah. So
Mm.
for me, one of the things that I can remember early on is learning about being lied to about Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing that Santa Claus even if it was a true story, like he's a saint and all that,
Yeah.
right? Even if but that part of it's true, the retail side of it was kind of what disappointed me.
Yep.
And, seeing my parents, stuff the stockings in the morning, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, what the F, man? They've been lying to me all these years, and then the ball
Okay.
starts rolling. What else have they
Uh,
been lying to me
okay.
about, right? Like
So they,
if
they actually like told you like there's this big dude who just goes around
right,
and then drops
just like
presents.
everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tree, Santa Claus is gonna come and
Uh,
give you presents if you're a good boy, a
go
good
down the
girl.
chimney or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Break into your house, basically, right? Like this dude's gonna come and break into our house and give you stuff.
Yeah.
Like, all right. I mean, I get it. Like it's part of everyone wants to be like, oh,
Yeah.
it's part of the celebration and da 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 da. I'm like, so that was for me, that was the beginning of like questioning things like, oh, they're willing to lie about this has just been a big lie,
Yeah.
like because it's in your face, everyone's celebrating Christmas and Saint Nick and Santa Claus, and
Yeah.
it's in your face, and then all of a sudden they're like crashing down, and like
Yeah.
this thing, this burden came over me like, oh, this is all bullshit. Like,
And then plus, right, it's going into the holiday seasons, which is consumerism on
oh
overdrive, right?
man, yeah.
It doesn't help
Overdrive,
at
overdrive.
all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole nother set of issues. But I think
Mm.
one of my earlier memories of questioning things, and maybe it wasn't directly about religion, but obviously Christmas is a religious celebration. So it was like that just kind of got the ball rolling, it's like it's making me question other things. And why do they make
Mm.
me go to church in the first place? Like, why do we have to do these things? And I don't even see, like what you're saying, your daughter doesn't see Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, who is this guy? I don't know. I don't
Except
even
maybe for
see him.
images
Yeah.
or the
You told me
icons.
stories
Yeah.
about this guy who's not even real. And then I just found out Santa Claus is total bull,
Yeah.
BS. You know what I mean? So
So it
like
kind of like shatters
it
your,
did.
yeah,
Yeah, kind of
yeah,
like, yeah, shattered me, man.
your
Like
expectations.
like broke my heart. Like my Christmas spirit like went down the no, I still celebrate it. I
Yeah.
don't have any problem. Like presents still show up, and I'm like, if
Yeah.
you
Every Christmas we still like
yeah,
buy
whatever.
things
Like
and
it's
give
not
gifts.
it doesn't like diminish our kids' celebration of Christmas. She still sings the songs, like
Yeah.
it's all good. But so if you were questioning things, like when did it really become like, okay, I think I might not really care to be a Catholic anymore. Like how,
Or even
like,
a believer across the
you
board,
were you like,
whatever.
were
Yeah.
you like young teens, late teens, like
Um,
young adult? Like, how did it?
it's kind of like different phases, I would call it. There's like the times more agnostic, the when I was in my teens, and then going into my 20s. Yeah,
What was it in your teens that kind of because that's an interesting
yeah,
thing because
because as teenagers, it was probably one of the most confusing times in your life. I understand I was a teenager once.
sure, there's
I
a
mean,
lot going on.
for some years, and
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. There's things in your life that you just don't understand or get. You would assume your own reality or
Yeah,
whatever views you would have.
you're developing
Yeah,
identity.
totally understandable. And yeah, I began questioning it, everything, um, even reality itself. And then the more you learn, the more you get exposed to newer stuff or newer ideas, you would begin to adapt it.
Were you getting exposed to ideas from other people or
Yeah,
school or
just even examining other religions, other what should we call it? Different philosophies, different kinds of outlook, or even science. Like when I heard about the multiverse theory or the other wild, let's say, just theories on our existence. So it's good to explore that. I wouldn't even uh well, how should I call it? Like discourage people from doing so. I would highly encourage everyone to learn as much as you can with other religions, other what do you call this? Other theories. It's a good way to start questioning your reality.
were there things that were happening in maybe your personal life that made you question
Oh
these
yeah, a
things,
lot.
or like were there friendship issues, or not maybe issues, but
Yeah,
like were there like
relationships, yeah,
experiences
or
like
everything. Especially when things like start crashing down on you. So it was just like there's no way, or even just examining the problem of evil alone, that would make you
yeah,
just there's no way. There's no way that an all knowing, all loving God would allow this to happen.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So
I to this day
yeah,
I
still
still want
it's probably one of the best arguments against the existence of an all-loving God. It's the problem of evil.
sure.
So
That's definitely something I want to get your opinion about.
yeah.
Like, how do you wrestle with that idea? Maybe it's different now, or like,
Mm.
is it different from how you viewed it before, in terms of why there is so much sin, available in this
Mhm.
world that we live in. Like the other day, my daughter was like, we were talking to, trying to give her some perspective about there's so much temptations to sin every
Mm.
day. And then, Jesus died for our sins. And he says, well, why is there still sin going on?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's still,
when it's a basic it's a classic example of questioning our faith, right? And so how do you deal with that reality?
yeah. It's a very interesting question, and at the same time, it's like multi-layered. It's kind of like when if I try to answer that, it would probably take me like a very long time. But just to relate to the questions, it's I'm still wrestling with that.
Imagine you're gonna explain this because the kid
Yeah,
is gonna ask at some point, right?
yeah,
Just like my
exactly. And
kid,
so
right?
that's
Like
a
how
good,
do you
yeah,
simply explain that why did Jesus die and yet there's still so much sin in the
yeah,
world? Like how do you explain that to a kid?
yeah. And how do you explain like the sins before even antiquity days of. You have to explain like, okay, if Neanderthals exist, or even some of our ancestors from thousands or hundreds of thousands of years ago, what about their sins?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you would have
sure.
to like consider that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's what we call theistic evolution, so it depends on where you stand on
Sure.
theologically.
Sure.
So,
But
but
let's just say simply,
yeah, but in simple terms, yeah,
you want to give an answer to why did Jesus die for our sins
yeah,
and
from
yet
a
and
Christian perspective, as simple as that, that evil exists.
mm-hmm.
So there is good and evil, and if to a child, it would seem, I think even a parent, when they see things that are bad, they would call it right,
Yeah,
or things that are good. They
sure.
would even explain it to them. So there's such a thing as good and evil.
Uh-huh.
Some would just say, well, probably it's just a byproduct of or evolutionary stage, uh, our development of our brains for millions of for hundreds of thousands or millions of years. So could be that. Who knows? I'm still agnostic about it to be quite to be quite honest. But evil in terms of defining it is there. It's apparent. I mean, you can see it all over the world, or
Yeah.
even within yourself when you examine when you have like what we call an examination of conscience, you can see evil and even sin within you.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. This isn't like trying to exempt myself
yeah.
from being sinful, but when your kid asks like something so simple
Mm.
as why did the son of our creator sacrifice
Himself,
himself
yeah.
for our sins and yet there is still so much happening like it's without getting too complex and too deep, like is there a way that you've come to deal with that? Yeah, sure.
Did
Um,
you say hi?
yeah, we're
Hi,
just we're
everyone.
just talking actually about your question.
Yeah.
You asked the other day of why
Why is
Jesus died
there?
for our sins, and yet there's still so much sin going on, right?
Yeah.
That was you just asked that the other day.
Did you mention me?
We're just talking
Yeah.
about it right now.
Even Lily asked the same question. Why did Jesus die?
Why did Jesus
I
die?
could just say sometimes, well, he loves us so much. He loves us that he gave his life for us so that
Yeah, but we're just
maybe yeah.
Yeah, it's
And that's
true.
also the goal is to let sin or to detest sin. You know what detest means to really not love it or like it at all. That when we ask forgiveness for our sins, we let go of those sins, right?
yeah.
We say, I no longer want to be angry all the time. So therefore, I follow the example of Jesus that I will let go of this particular sin,
Yeah.
and then work hard every day on doing that. How do we do it? There's lots of ways. In our daily life, we sometimes practice it. Breathing is one. I pray, and while I do deep breathing, you still pray, right?
Yeah,
You know the
it's the
Lord's
best.
Prayer? Yeah, so that's a very powerful also prayer. You can do the Lord's Prayer every time you get too angry or too, let's say, when your mind is so all over the place, you can get back in focus by doing breathing and then praying. So that's one. And people still sin. Evil is still around us. Sin is always because this is a world they call it we still live in a fallen world. You remember Adam and Eve when they
Sinned.
yeah, then they sinned. So this is the world according to to the stories that we are living in right now. So the goal is to get back to God and then be holy. And to be holy, we have to be free from sin, which is for in our state, it's very hard to do because we always we are still human. Okay, so every human is imperfect. Only God has that perfection, I think,
Yeah,
or I
that's a
believe.
good point.
Yeah,
The we will never be like
yeah, we will never
Jesus.
be.
That's
We can
impossible.
try to imitate
I mean,
Jesus,
people
follow
walk
him.
on water. I doubt it.
Yeah, he's gravity, but he's
And
the
like
son of God, so he's got,
he's got the nanotech.
The laws of physics.
yep,
Yeah,
supernatural, right?
yeah. That's what you call
Hmm.
supernatural. Above the laws of this dimension.
Yes.
Isaac
There
got
he goes out the window. Isaac Newton didn't know nothing. How do you calculate that, Newton?
oh
Here's an interesting point. God's love and forgiveness is always available.
Mm,
Even though sin still exists,
mm,
Jesus's death means we can always ask for forgiveness
yes.
and try again.
Mhm,
God understands that we're not perfect, and He's always ready to help us when we mess up.
mm,
So I think it's when there's a balance of how to navigate the our everyday world in a
mm,
place of sin. That's we are a fallen species, right?
mm.
This is the story of how the humans started, right? We fell from the garden, right? I think that's generally how it
Yeah.
that
Well, it
works
started
out.
well and good because when God created us, it was good, right? When he first but then disobeyed. The story of Adam and Eve, and that's the rest is history. So yeah, that's a good it's a good point there.
Yeah, another one is about the Jesus's death offers salvation, not immediate perfection. So that was kind of what we were mentioning
Mm,
before. Jesus died to make it possible for people to be forgiven and reconnected with God. But that doesn't mean sin disappeared right away. Think of
mm.
it like this. Jesus opened a door to forgiveness and a relationship with God, but people still have to choose to walk through that door.
Yes.
Okay, so we were given the option as the ability to have free will. That's
That's a gift
a
also.
just like many things in life, it's a gift and
Mm.
also it's also a burden,
Yeah.
right?
So you have to
Because
choose,
we're
but
not robots.
yeah, and then I think that's the best part of the story, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because we actually get to choose freely
Yeah, and that's
between good and evil.
one of her favorite movies is
Yeah.
Marvel Age of Ultron. And
Mm.
I think that's one of the points, right? It's like we're not yeah. We're not AI robots, we are
Yeah.
intelligent, but at the
Mm.
same time, we have the ability to choose. And man, I gotta say, questioning and being further away from nature, being further away from what created us, being further away
Mm.
from God, I think that is where I spent most of my sinful years, right? Majority of my life I spent trapped in sin, right?
Uh-uh.
And that's not I'm not bragging about it. Of course, there are lots of experiences that I've come to appreciate, but man, I wasted a lot of time there, in that
Yeah.
in that box of sin. And although we have the ability for free will, I think that's when I still struggle with that, like early on in my life, I
Mm.
saw the person, our father, who kind of what I viewed as forced us going to church,
Mm.
and yet would go behind our backs and commit
Mm.
adultery,
Mm. Mm.
right? And so
Yeah.
early on, that for me, that was like, what the hell is this? Like, why do I have to do this? And then yet here you are, and that's why I try to lead by example as much as
Yeah. Yeah.
possible. And it's very difficult
Mm.
to lead by example because there are so many temptations, right? And we
Oh
have the
yeah.
free will to participate in that. Hashtag no porn, bro. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably the most sober I've ever been in my life,
Mm.
and like I think compared to my 20-year-old
Yeah.
self,
You're
like,
probably
oh
clear-headed
man,
too, right?
yeah. I
Do you
mean,
notice?
a lot more.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot more.
Mm.
It's definitely given me some clarity for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I probably won't understand it just yet because I mean, I literally started to have a really heavy participation in drugs as early as high school, right?
Yeah. I think most it's
What?
kind of like a
It's on the table outside of Berkeley's room, outside of the room.
the rebellious face.
Yeah. I mean, I was heavy into it, man, and
Yeah.
I'm not bragging about it. This is definitely something that I definitely do not encourage people to do.
Yeah.
But before going to class, like I remember, like we would hide outside of somewhere outside of the house and smoke a joint, and then go to class. And I that was so many years of my life, dude.
Yeah.
Like, man, I wish I had known better. But that's why I like Gabriel Mate's explanation
Mm.
about drug use is that it was serving you a purpose, because a lot of people always view it as that was bad, right? That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that was so bad what I did.
Do drugs and you're gonna die or you're
He,
gonna so and
yeah,
for.
and but his perspective is yeah, it's not good, but I mean it was
Mm.
serving you a purpose
Yeah.
because I had a lot of anxiety, I had a lot of confusion in my life,
Mm.
and so that provided me the escape that I needed to go on with my days, right?
Mm.
And maybe from the outside people can say, oh, you had a house over your head and you had food on the table, so life can't be that bad, right? And that's a limited perspective about how life goes. And when people say things like that, they're
Mm.
not being empathetic to consider what other things are happening in the household. It's not just about materialistic things that you
Yeah.
have, and that was just such a big part of my life and for so many years. And I think it just gave me a mental block. Like I
Yeah.
just was in that cycle for so long. And that's kind of like we might have the freedom to choose, but are you having the freedom to choose within a world of sin? Right?
Mm.
Like, is that what you're choosing?
Mm.
And that's, I think, what we're seeing today. But anyways, we're like
Yeah.
we're on a
Yeah.
tangent here.
And the odds are stacked against us,
Oh yeah,
especially
yeah.
given
These days,
the
my
yeah,
goodness.
especially these days. At that time, you remember like when you had access to pornography, you got to have a VHS
It
at
was an
least
effort.
or
Get it from your
some
friends, older
magazine.
brothers,
Yeah.
magazine stack. Yeah.
So you got to have it's like it takes a lot of effort and you got
It's even worse now. It's so available. It's ridiculous. It's in Roblox, for crying out loud.
yeah.
I mean, give me a break.
So even at that time, right? It was already prevalent at least.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Um yeah, so going back to things that question, and um maybe as your years go on, I mean, you obviously question more and more, you get
Mm.
exposed to more different kinds of people as you get older. At what point did you start to say, like, I'm done with this religious stuff, like, and you just kind of went on full atheism?
Maybe that was, I think that was in my late
Late
20s.
20s.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I think it was late 20s where I was more agnostic before, prior to that. Just, open-minded. Okay, I'll accept what the best, um, what the best proposal or idea is. So I just kept learning and learning.
is
And
it
then,
because it didn't make sense anymore to be Catholic, like, or you just kind of
yeah,
like,
nothing that just made sense at that time, like
what was it?
everything is just about death and then destruction.
Death and
Just like the
destruction.
universe when
You mean the Catholic
no,
Church?
I
is
mean
Oh,
the
life,
life
life in
itself.
general.
It's
Yeah,
just
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, F this all. It was just like
yeah,
that
yeah.
phase, just believe in nothing. There's everything. There's the sky, but that's it. It's more of a the materialist a world. All that there is all that there is.
Mm.
It's just life and death. It goes on. There's a creator that maybe doesn't care. Perhaps there is, or there isn't a creator. It's more of a pantheistic uh point of view.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think, if you're talking about our late 20s, we were probably exposed to the internet
Mm,
for
mm.
if we're in your late 20s, we'd probably had the internet for at least 10 years, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, when we were in our 20s, that's when like the iPhone blew up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When we
and
were in our
and that was
20s.
the time when new atheism started blowing up. Like
Ah, okay.
it was when
Interesting.
Dawkins, Dr. Richard
Ah,
Dawkins,
okay. Okay.
Christopher Hitchens, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. This was that
Sure.
Daniel Dennett and Sam Harris, of course,
So the
the well-known Sam.
access to
Yeah,
other
to
views
other
was
views.
like, bam,
Yeah,
never
especially
before
yeah,
experienced, you know.
and I love science, so
Uh-huh.
I started having that the worldview of science
Yeah.
is the end of all arguments, can answer
Yeah.
everything
And
at least.
if you're like anything you are now, then I'm sure
Mm,
you were soaking up information at that time, just like you do these days. I'm sure it
yeah,
wasn't any different for you back then. So you were absorbing all this kind of information, right?
yeah,
Like going through it, trying to make sense of. So it's understandable. Like the internet blows up, right?
yeah,
The gadgets
yeah.
explode.
And
You
their
have
books came
YouTube.
out.
The
I read
books
some of
came
their
out.
books,
Yeah,
God Delusion.
podcasts were already booming at that time, right? Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like
So
going up. The use of podcasts was
documentaries. So
documentaries. I mean, the access to information was incredible at
mm,
that time, almost too incredible. It's like you can't keep up with it. Like I had a at that time in our later 20s, I had a iPod in my pocket like 24/7.
mm.
Every time I would commute, I had a podcast
Yeah,
on. It's
you
like
would just download
just trying to
it.
keep
Yeah,
up with all this. Like I
yeah.
can't believe this is available for free for download, put it on the iTunes list or something like that, right? So it's understandable that for our time that was like a time an age where we were like
Mm,
questioning everything. Like, oh my God, look, this guy makes so much sense. This evolution thing, like
mm.
God, like no one talked about this in church, right? Like that was they were telling us in church, don't watch The Simpsons.
Yeah,
That was the kind of memories I had in church, like
you get
ridiculous things like that.
possessed.
Yeah.
It's demonic.
Yeah. Um, so I think when there's like a disconnect
Mm,
when you go to church every Sunday.
mm,
I don't know, maybe because it's so deep in ritual, and
mm.
obviously you probably appreciate it now,
Now, I'm older.
but
Yeah,
I
of
feel
course.
like from the time when I was a kid going to church on Sundays to the time now, there was some kind of disconnect from reality.
Yeah.
Like the ritual was the ritual, and then you went out into the real world, and
Mm,
then that was it. Like
yeah.
maybe because our family was different. Like we didn't have Bible study in our house
Mm,
or somebody talking to us about it on a day-to-day basis on real world experiences and bringing it back to the Bible. So um I think I don't know if that's something that you're doing now, but I feel like that's just there's something there missing, from
mm.
that experience being a kid, going to church every Sunday, and then just being like, okay, see you later.
Yeah, the disconnect. Yeah,
I don't
that's
know what it
true.
is.
Yeah.
Maybe because we didn't have very much community involvement with the church
Mm.
or something like that. Like,
Maybe it's a combination of a lot of things, plus the environment
yeah,
that every time we go out, we're not really kept in check. I'm not saying that we should be like helicopter parents
right.
and just start droning around them all the time. Don't touch that. That's evil.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
uh-huh.
So that usually the results I've seen a lot of kids go through that process. I've had classmates whose their fathers were like pastors and they turned out to
Okay.
be alcoholics.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Maybe it was too much.
yeah, there's cases like that
Sure, sure,
can
sure.
happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's a combination of a lot of things.
Hmm.
It's
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's
Sure, sure.
complicated for sure.
Yeah.
Even in my case, I mean, my parents were not exactly that type of religious people, but they were religious.
Mm-hmm.
They practiced the faith, but they were not that, let's just say, rigid.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to our grandparents, of course, they were to different times. But in our case, we were contending also against changing times.
Sure, sure.
And our environment was different. Even our media was different.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and then we would be left alone and our experimenting and all that.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
without guidance even. So every time we pose a question, for a lack of communication, I guess, since most of our parents were busy, there wouldn't be a cohesive I would say interplay of that aspect of faith within the family. Because for me, like I try to even as early as 3, um, inject, not really force my belief into my child, but have her understand why I am leading us to this faith, in
Yeah.
this way. It's important that the patriarch is a very powerful figure. Christ is a patriarch. God is a patriarch. It's a
Mhm.
very powerful figure in Catholicism, or even in Christianity in general. So the patriarch must stand that, or make that adjustment himself, or even do that part, the sacrifice. Yeah,
Mm.
in a way that I am the father, but we submit to the father,
Mm.
the father of the fathers, the one father. So I try to do that because I have time to do that with my child, unfortunately. And I understand my father was busy
Yeah.
working at that
Yeah.
time, and thank God, because otherwise we'd be starving if it did not
Sure.
it
Sure.
did not
Just
work.
being a
But
provider. Yeah.
there was an imbalance, right?
Yeah.
There,
Sure.
there could have been adjustments if you really wanted to form a strong Catholic family unit.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what I'm learning. I'm learning
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
his mistake,
His
not just his mistakes,
experiences,
experiences.
the way he
Yeah.
approached it.
And I'm glad that happened, because I wouldn't be learning, because
Yeah.
in the later stages of his life before he passed away, he was
Hmm.
a really devoted Catholic, and it's a huge part of my reversion, I should say,
Yeah.
and my journey back to the Catholic
That's
faith was my father.
uh-huh.
So
That's an interesting point. Like,
yeah.
because I know there's a lot of people who get involved in Bible studies
Mm,
or community. They even, if you're obviously a Christian, you can be married and still have family, and then
mm,
still be involved with the community stuff and be a leader in some of these groups and lead Bible study or whatever it might be, right? Like, um, but then I know there are some people like that, but then the relationship with their kids, because maybe during the days they're so busy working, and then the nights they're doing the Bible study, but then it's still like there's a neglect of their maybe
mm.
relationship. So that's interesting that you're recognizing it now, and then kind of like how are you going to integrate something, because that's part of parenting, right? Is like
Yeah,
trying to recognize what we lack in terms of our perspective, because a lot of it is subconscious, right? Like we grew up in a way where we had to deal with certain stresses and traumas and anxieties.
yeah,
And a lot of that gets into our subconscious, and we might not realize we're just repeating it, right?
yeah.
And that's a very difficult thing to admit to yourself when you realize, like, oh, I'm doing the same bullshit that I was
Mm,
complaining about when I was a kid, or when I was younger, when I was being parented by my parents. And here I am now, because like I'll give a practical example, like, like you're saying, your father was hardworking,
mm.
a lot of parents.
Yeah,
We had that too. We had a father who was very hardworking, and then there, like you're mentioning, there is your relationship with that person will suffer because they are out being the provider, bringing
mm,
bringing home the money. And so as the child, there it might be unconscious that you are also, even if you're not like out of the house, you might be absent, even though you're physically there. You might be
yeah.
absent minded.
Mentally,
Yeah, you might be absent minded.
spiritually absent,
Yeah,
could even.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you're just repeating it subconsciously, and
Mm,
that can be a difficult thing to accept and realize, right? Like, oh man, and I see this in our household, because our kid's mother, my wife, is also grew up like that. Her father was hardworking.
mm.
He was actually out
Abroad.
of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was abroad. And then the mother was also working as well. So, her and her sisters were definitely neglected. There's no way to deny that.
Mm,
I was neglected in certain ways. She was neglected. And so we as parents
mm.
now have the responsibility to, are we repeating this now
Yeah.
to our kid,
And
right?
that's
Like,
why we choose only one to have one
yeah,
kid,
yeah,
so we can have more quality time.
exactly.
Although the faith teaches that we should have more kids, but I would understand if we if you should choose not to have
Yeah.
more.
And
It is
but there are
difficult.
sacrifices in
Yeah,
that. Like
exactly. Yeah, it's a good
if
point.
if I'm willing not to make as much money as the primary person, let's say, who's making the money,
Yeah.
and now I want to do this homeschooling thing because I want to focus more attention on our child. We can't go on extravagant cruise ship vacations. We can't go to Europe. We can't go to Disneyland, and that's
Mm.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like I'm totally fine with that. Like if from years from now, if the only thing she ever says is, I wish we would have went to Disneyland. I'm like, "Pff, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I'd
Like
rather
I'm
go to
sure.
the Holy Land with you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Um, but at least have some kind of awareness, right?
Mm.
Because like it's very easy to get caught up in the grind and be like,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just doing my thing. Like I need to be the provider. I need to make this money. But is it really? Is it really? Do you really need to make this money, or is it because when you're with your kid, you don't know what you're doing because you're so absent-minded because that's how
Yeah.
we grew up,
Yeah, yeah.
right? We were just left to, go play outside, go
Yeah.
watch
It's just
TV.
providing for the material things is enough sometimes.
Yeah, at
So
least that's the view
yeah.
from maybe our parents' age,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not I haven't studied history and culture and all that stuff, so I don't know if that was the way that they saw it. But yeah,
Mm.
for a lot of parents, it's only about being the provider, and that kind of just like where it stops,
Mm.
right? And I'm trying to break through that mentality, and it's quite difficult, especially when your partner might be practicing that as well, because that's what they experience
Yeah.
in life, and we're just repeating these
Yeah.
things, right?
And also to mention when I mentioned like hyper consumerism a while ago,
Yeah.
yeah, it also reflects to the changing times that we had because our parents grew up after they were the baby boomer.
Oh yeah, the baby boomers.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's the effect of the
Consumerism was
when the industrial
blew
age
up.
happened, revolution. So we were able to make more things easily. So now you can work, you can buy your stuff, lots of stuff that our ancestors could only dream of, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But for them, they were hooked on that,
yeah,
on getting that or providing that so that we can live like kings,
yeah,
right?
quote
So
unquote.
yeah, that's one way where what do you call this? When when that consumes your entire activity to be able to provide that, not just for yourself, but for your family, that we forget the part where we nourish ourselves spiritually or even
Yeah,
our family.
yeah,
Our grandparents used to do that, or our grandparents' parents. They would, as the old adage goes, right? A family that prays together stays together. And I believe in
uh,
that.
mm,
It's I try to practice that at least as often times as I could with my daughter. For instance, like if she has like a fit with one of her classmates, like this girl doing that to me. You know what you can do tonight instead of letting it bother you? Just pray for her. Just
mm,
pray for her. Okay, together. And
uh,
pray
uh,
for that.
mm-hmm.
May I can have more patience with her
Yeah,
tomorrow. I pray that
mm,
we can have a better conversation next time
yeah.
around. So
It
just
it
practice.
changes the mentality
Yeah.
of the or the perspective. Maybe like instead of yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like instead of criticizing the person,
Mm.
you could try to understand, be more empathetic, and be like, maybe they're going through something. So why don't you pray for them for a better situation for that person? And it really changes the energy and that thought, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so I like that. And then to go back to what you're saying earlier, something I always remember when we talked about sometime before, I can't remember when exact that was, but we were talking about, parents being hardworking, and how your father was a lot of was out of the house a
Yeah.
lot. And something that I always remember is that you would have given um you would have, even though you've grown up with a lot of these luxuries just like a lot
Yeah,
of
of
us,
course.
you would have
I enjoyed
given
it too.
you would have
So
preferred more time with your
yes,
father, right? And
especially at this age. I mean, in this mentality right now, I would have given up a lot of things just to have uh, uh one good night of conversation with my dad at that age, I
Yeah.
would a lot, give up a lot for that.
Yeah, so thinking about that and as we go forward in life, like how do you deal with the fact that eventually, we're going to be our kids are going to be in that situation where
Mm,
like, could our parents have done something that they could have stuck around longer for us to have like more time together? Like so does that drive your parenting or your spiritual experience with your kid in any certain way?
yeah,
Because you've come to that understanding, like, yeah, he was grinding the fuck out of his job, man.
yeah.
Like he went up the corporate ladder like a motherfucker, dude. Like he was grinding hard, but at the same time, you now understand, like, damn, maybe had he not been grinding so hard, like we
Mm,
could have lived without so many luxuries, maybe. Or,
yeah,
maybe had
yeah.
he not been so focused on his career.
Or it could be in reverse. Could be
Right.
that some fathers do not even work that hard and they blame them like, man, dad
Yeah,
could
yeah,
have
yeah.
worked harder and
Yeah.
we could have
That's the other side
this and
too.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you wrestle with that? Like,
Yeah.
because if you obviously understand it now,
Mm,
and then like, it's obviously hindsight, right? And
mm,
so how do you approach that with going forward as a parent? Like, how do like, yeah, obviously somebody still has to make money,
yeah.
and we gotta sacrifice some kind of family time in order
Mm,
for us to, like, you guys are thinking about going abroad, right? And things
yeah.
like that. So, it's an interesting way to try to shape how we approach parenting, because we're trying to figure out, right, like how to do it, but in a way that we can still be parents, but at the same time give our kids some kind of
Yeah.
qu
Comfort or
quality of
yeah.
time, not
Yeah.
just like be in the room and be mindless,
Be
right? Or
present.
just
Yeah.
be watching a TV. And maybe that's okay. Sometimes you watch something together and that's fine. But I mean, if you're just kind of not engaging with your kid, 80% of the time because you're just so bothered with whatever, distracted with
Mm,
whatever it is you're doing, whether it's work or scrolling or any number of endless things that are out there to distract us, you know, have you found that to shape something about parenthood?
yeah, that's really a difficult balance
Yeah, it's
to
difficult,
to
man.
achieve.
It's
I have to
it's
admit. I mean, it's even a tall order for me, like just balancing things or finding the right let's say maintaining this kind of lifestyle or even having the luxuries that we're used to, having a house, yeah, a room where you can sleep comfortably, and
yeah.
then at the same time find that time to be present with your not just your daughter, with your wife.
Yeah, with your wife too. Yeah, that's a whole nother dynamic to
Yeah.
deal with, right?
Let
Because
alone for me finding time to be to be with God or
yeah.
finding time for prayer.
Hmm.
So it's really a balancing act, I must
Oh
say.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
the more practice that I try to do, yeah, it has results though. I could say it has resulted in bearing good fruits in my experience.
Mm,
The more I try to lead myself to God and my family, the more at peace I am each day
mm. Sure.
with my reality or with reality itself. I'm not saying I'm not having problems or
Right,
I'm
right.
not free from sin. I sin like every
Yeah.
minute, maybe, or do some terrible stuff in my not just in my mind, but a lot of stuff. I lose my temper or whatever.
Sure.
But the more I try, the more I practice, it bears good fruits. And
Mhm.
I would encourage more people to try it, even like prayer or just knowing God. I don't want to sound like a pastor or too preachy, man, but it's just my experience. Okay,
Yeah,
the more the closer I get, or the more I go to the in that direction or leading into the way, it just brings me peace, and I find a lot of good changes in my own in myself in my heart. The more I study the faith. especially studying it, is a blast. Like
Uh,
it's history. I
yeah,
didn't just go back randomly to the Catholic Church uh, out of the blue. It took a lot of like deep study and even discernment. Just I could have just gone whatever denomination, or
sure, sure.
just okay, just believe in Christ and live my own life, and that's it.
Hmm.
Don't bother as just maybe talk to God once in a while.
Yeah.
It's still an option. I mean, why
Uh-huh.
not?
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
people are non-denominational Christians. We also have there's different kinds of Christians,
Oh,
over
really?
40,000, I think.
Is it really? Man, really?
Types of Christian
Wow.
denominations, not
I
to
had no
mention the
idea.
other religions like Hinduism,
Oh, sure.
Buddhism is a religion. I don't think so. Uh, or
I
even
don't
yeah,
think Buddha is a
Islam.
god.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think
Just
so.
so but there's just like different, just different types of Christianity. But there's a reason I went back to the Catholic faith. Of course, there are biases. I grew up Catholic, so it's much
Sure.
easier. But I could have gone Orthodox. Why not?
Sure. I mean, a lot of people convert to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point as well. Like before we go, like how you got fully back into it. When you
Mm.
were one other question I had was when you were full-blown atheist or even agnostic, like those conversations probably came up with your family members,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Who
we were
are
open to discuss freely, especially in dinner time. That's the time when we have a conversation. My mom especially. So we were not discouraged from. I don't know about that though. The way I try to practice it now. It's not that I will encourage it, but or discourage it. I mean, but it was a good practice where we were open because we have different
yeah.
beliefs.
So how do you remember your family members kind of being open about it, but at the same time probably not exactly happy about it, right? They
Yeah. That
how did that go?
it was more like just maintaining a level of respect, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
so
Just having an adult conversation
yeah,
about it.
respect. My mom, of course, she's a strong, not really strong Catholic, but she's practiced the faith, but she would
Sure.
open
Okay.
conversations. Even if I started talking about aliens with her,
Uh-huh.
or other, yeah, we would just discuss it. Or even with my father, I would show him documentaries before.
Okay.
Um, what was it?
About aliens or
Yeah,
religion or
sometimes religion,
okay.
sometimes the universe,
Okay.
whatever, under anything under the
Sure.
sun. We're pretty open about it, and I
Yeah.
appreciated that. That they never really what do you call this? Like suppressed my curiosity.
Okay.
There's a
Okay.
difference between suppressing curiosity and just because curiosity I've learned is not a virtue at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially in the Christian faith,
Mm-hmm.
because too much curiosity, so they say, right? Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's something in there where when you
Mm-hmm.
become too curious, who got too curious in scripture that
Yeah.
that there's like a hanging fruit there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? There's a lesson there about
Yeah, yeah.
curiosity that
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta let it go.
Okay.
It's the unknowable. Okay.
Sure.
So
The mysteries.
I learned a
Yeah.
hard lesson with that one
It's
because I wanted to know everything
I see. I see.
instantaneously.
Yeah, yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I could just download information, if I
Uh-huh.
had the chance before, I would have.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah.
if it would destroy my mind,
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah. Just to know.
just to know because I wanted to
Yeah.
know everything.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Which is
yeah, that's
impossible.
why curiosity is not necessarily a virtue. So
Mm.
but they had this way of not suppressing our curiosity.
Okay. Okay.
They were encouraging us to be open-minded, but at the same time, you have to maintain a level of respect for the faith. We can't curse God, of course, in front of them. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
still,
disrespectful
yeah,
for
yeah.
anybody
Uh,
who believes in anything.
but in my
Just
mind, I was just all over the place, like,
yeah. I mean,
screw it.
unless it's flat Earth.
Yes. But that's something I appreciated about the way they encourage discussion because we
Okay.
always have a
That's
healthy,
interesting. At least
yeah,
it wasn't yeah, like you said, they weren't suppressing
yeah,
your insights because maybe they figured there might be something to learn there too, right?
yeah. It gave me a lesson to like thinking about it now. I think it's a way of being comfortable with one's faith. Like I think
Okay.
in a way
Sure.
they were like,
Sure, sure.
one day you're gonna see it. Not now, maybe,
Yeah.
it was kind of like that way because now when I read about because my dad likes to or my mom they have their prayer diaries.
Okay.
So the more I've been
Interesting.
reading into their dialogues, I would call it,
Ah,
with themselves or with God, in their
written
written and
religious
the more
diaries.
I see more of
How is that
myself.
different from a normal, regular
It's,
personal diary? Uh,
you can just have a prayer book or
but
you
they had a
they
specific
have
one
yeah.
for religion.
Yeah, for
Interesting.
lots of it, actually. They
Really?
practiced a lot of that, doing that exercise. So
That's
I
interesting.
appreciate it because now I get to read it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Uh-huh.
see more of myself in their shoes now. So
Mm.
it's like, okay, I get it.
Ah, okay. That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially about the prodigal son. My dad like just went deep into that one. And now
Really?
I'm in that stage where I was the prodigal son who went away,
Uh-huh.
went back full circle
Yeah,
back
yeah,
to where
yeah.
because I'm sure in a way my father also went apostate in some sort in his own ways, following a different kind of God.
Oh, did
Yeah.
he really?
You have different gods. Sometimes material wealth could be your God.
Ah, okay.
Sometimes
Okay.
success could be your God. That's
Mm,
why even though some of us are practicing Catholics, or so, it's not necessarily practicing because we're chasing after other gods. It
mm.
could be,
But that's a sin.
yeah, that's why.
So he was wrestling with that, and you can
Yeah,
see that in
I
his
can see
writing.
it. I can see it
You
not
could read
just,
that anyway.
yeah, or even the way he when he became really religious late in his life,
Okay.
he preached about it because I would go with him to their activities in their religious group. So I would just listen sometimes. I do his recordings. I mean, I edit his recordings. He makes
Okay.
me do it.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
would listen. So yeah, okay. But I didn't mind it because at that time, to be honest, I was an atheist or agnostic at
Okay.
least.
Okay.
I was just doing it because it's my dad, of course.
Right, right, right.
But now that I look back into it, it's like there's a lot of treasure into what they were practicing at that time that I'm
That's
sure.
interesting. Like how did he come or come back from chasing those other gods, and eventually preaching about was he preaching against those those things that he was chasing before? Is that
In a
how?
way, yes, because he proclaimed that uh, Jesus is king and
Okay.
will follow him till the day I die, and
Uh-huh.
he will be the only one that I will follow from now on. So that's
Mm.
the trajectory, and I hope. I don't know where he is, and according to the Catholic faith, what we have we call a purgatory. Not everybody believes in it. It's a state where you go after death. It's like a purging because before you can get back to God or the source, some would call it,
Uh-huh.
you have to be cleansed or truly because you would die if you would get close to God now in the state of sin, you would be extinguished. So, so you in our Catholic tradition or in our belief, we have what we call purgatory. We can pray for the souls of purgatory. So, because they're still undergoing this purging process
Mm.
to free them from all sorts of whatever baggage that we have in this fallen state. Because not when we die, we don't become saints. Saints earn their place in heaven. That's why we venerate them because they've done their due here on on earth. They sacrificed everything. That's why we love them. I mean, I love the saints.
Mm.
I ask for their help each and every day. Not
Mm.
everybody believes in that, but that's a Catholic way.
Okay.
So yeah, I keep photos of them. Speaking of one saint, I have a statue there of Saint Nicholas of Bari, the real Santa Claus.
Yeah, yeah.
He was pretty badass too.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So he was just like giving gifts to people who are in need, especially poor people. So he was
Mm.
actually doing his thing. He was a very rich man, but he gave everything up for helping others. Because Saint Thomas Aquinas defined for me what the best definition of love is. It's to will the good in the other. It's the best definition of love that I can give.
To
Or
will the good in
yeah,
another. Mm.
right. So even if I tell it to my daughter, what is love? You may see love when I hug you or take care of you, but
Mm.
to love another person is to will the good, no matter how fallen that person is. You have to try because Jesus did that for all of us. I think, or
Mm.
I believe even in this fallen state, just decided to, to come save us all.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of wrestling in my faith to arrive in that conclusion
Yeah.
from
So
experience. Yeah.
so getting into that, obviously you've gone through those struggles mentally throughout the years. And then when recently you decided to really get back into the faith from that, if correct me if I'm wrong, you were agnostic before you went back to the Catholic Church. Is that correct?
Yeah, from atheism, like
From atheism, right?
yeah,
Right.
agnostic to atheist, back to agnostic,
Uh-huh.
even deist for a while.
Uh-huh. Which
De
is
Deism is just maybe the universe is it's just it's God,
the universe is God. Yeah.
and then I don't have to really
De
impress.
Okay. I'm not sure if I've ever read into that. Deism. I mean, what's
There's theism,
deism?
atheism,
Okay.
theism. There's pantheism. There's different also kinds of worldviews. Pantheism, I think Einstein was into pantheism, if I'm not mistaken. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody
Yeah.
or Baruch Spinoza.
Okay.
Who else? Stephen Hawking, I think,
Okay.
has a pantheistic point of view. It's not really God that interferes in our day-to-day activities, but the universe, you can call it God
Ah,
for what
okay.
it is.
Okay.
Doesn't really impose itself on our feeble planet here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so
More like a celestial
yeah,
celestial being of some kind, maybe something like that.
yeah.
Maybe
But
along
God exists outside of the material world, and according to the
uh
theology of Christianity. So he's
right, right.
outside of this existence.
Uh-huh. So from there you got and then how was that received
Well,
like from people around you? Because obviously they know that
yeah, it was a
you
hard pill to swallow, actually,
from
because
your family's
um,
members or from who?
yeah, even from my friends, because
Oh, for your
they know me as that dude who would even argue with them. Like,
friends.
there's no God.
Yeah.
So, it took them by surprise, actually. Like, at first I was kind of like ashamed. Like, I didn't want to be that hypocrite dude who just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just one day talk about Jesus.
I'm sure that there were people I told you so,
Yeah,
dude.
I'm glad that they were happy for me, and
Okay. So it was
well, I can't stop talking about it. Sometimes they would even like, what?
yeah, yeah. So that's an interesting point when you find something that you feel so strongly about, like something that is true to your heart,
Mm,
and then people are like, why are you so they want to call you fanatic or they want to call you extreme
mm,
or uh are those the types of things that you're talking about? Like people are saying yeah, like you're too to this or to that? Like, is that like how did that go? Because obviously you're like, man, I'm back into it. You know,
yeah,
like
there were
you want to
times.
share because
Yeah,
like when you find something that's exciting for you, that's the truth that you feel that is so
yeah.
strong that you feel like could help other people, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you become too
You
enthusiastic,
become
or
good,
yeah, and
yeah,
it's sometimes it may
like
be too much. Yeah, I've noticed that at first, even myself, and I would have arguments even with my wife, like just it's too much. Like, do I
yeah,
have to do this? Do that? No, no.
yeah. And I've
That
heard
was a mistake on my part, actually. But
yeah, and but I wonder though, like, is it really that you were too extreme about it, or is that because other people are not as extreme about it, right? Like
uh,
why is it the person who finds their way back to the truth and then is so excited to share, but yet people who might be criticizing of that experience, like why is that? Is that because they are so uh maybe in a way disconnected from the actual truth? Like how do you deal with that? Because you know that's a difficult thing. Like, well, how can you not be so excited about it? Like,
mm,
why don't you want to do these
yeah,
things,
yeah,
right? Is it something do you think that's in just because it's so casual around here, like
yeah,
being religious is so casual, or like
yeah,
how
yeah.
does it?
There's a lot of things I think I've just observed that could contribute to that um question. One is I think also, well, being a rational person, I'd like to call myself. I don't want to impose anything on, especially even with my family, uh, with any practices that of course I would lead them to the Catholic way, but I wouldn't want to be super imposing on my
Yeah,
wife, right?
yeah.
Or even
You
with
don't want
other
to be an
people, with
extremist.
extremists, exactly. I would rather, as you said, practice what I preach.
Sure.
So by showing that this is the way, show it rather than preaching it all the time
Sure.
or just saying it just for the sake because I believe it. Everybody's reality is different. Even though if I'd like to believe this is the reality or this is the real deal,
Yeah.
but I can't really enforce that or or impose that on anybody. I wouldn't want to. I'd
Yeah.
like to see or at least have it realized in the same way I was led by not just other people but whatever forces there are into that realization.
Yeah, so let's just say in a practical sense, like you wanna start doing the rosary or something, and your
Mm.
wife is not really into it, and you're like, why not? Why don't you? Aren't you religious? Like,
Yeah.
don't you want to do it? Like
She wants
how
to,
do you
but just
struggle
the
with it?
time.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's what you
Yeah.
said, but as
Yeah.
just like in a practical example,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I feel that way a lot about other things as well. Like I don't understand if you're saying you're religious, but then you're not like displaying it in a
Yeah.
way that makes sense to me or like let's just say like I like to relate this to me going plant-based, right? Like
Mm,
at
yeah.
first
Yeah.
I'm like this my mother suffers from asthma, so it's
Mm,
always like I don't understand her in this way, like this can help you, and I am a living example of it,
mm,
right? In the same way your religion's like, look, this helped me in this way. Why can't you also understand that and practice that as well? Because it could, we love these people, right? So we
mm,
want to be like, why don't you want to do this? Because this can help you, and or something like that, right?
mm,
And then so we don't understand that, like as people who have found something truthful to us that we want other people to experience as well, but then there's resistance, right?
mm,
Or just like a lack of practice or whatever it might be. So how do you deal with that now that you've come back to the church, and now you see people are saying that they're religious, but then maybe aren't practicing it to the way
mm.
that to the standard that you maybe might feel that it
Yeah.
should be.
I think that's a very good question. I think it's I see it as a challenge for myself. I see it as a challenge because there's so much beauty that I see in it that it compels me to show not just my family but as many people as I can to the beauty of what is in front of what I'm witnessing.
Uh-huh.
And it's so I mean it's hard to explain, but it compels me to just act on it. Like if I do prayers every day, or I would encourage my wife to even practice the faith. Although I wouldn't tell her to just start kneeling down, pray, or else
Right.
you're gonna get a beating from me. The patriarchy. Oh,
Right. Right.
submit to your husband, woman.
Right.
But just showing her what we call the agape is the Christian love really
Okay.
means by being that kind of husband to the bride. It's just like how Christ treated the church, or even his bride is the
Mhm.
church. So I try to follow that example because there's beauty in it. I saw it. That's why I'm practicing it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see like this is beautiful, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Like
Yep.
there's nothing I can compare it with. Nothing like it at all. So that's why I mean we probably have different opinions about that with other people, but I'd like
Sure.
to show it.
Sure.
So
So how do you deal with the struggle? Like someone doesn't want to practice it to the same level as you
it's
do.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I was also just laughing at these people before when I was
Right. 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 Right.
yeah, but the more when I examine their lives or even their practices, like when I was looking at the lives of some of these monks, they just spend their days in prayer in a
Sure.
seclusion.
Sure.
Some of them wouldn't even talk.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to
Yeah.
talk. They would just be in silence for long periods of time. They have a vow of silence. I've done silent retreats before with my mom and dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That
I was
sounds
pretty open
interesting. I've
about it,
never
so I
done
just
that.
did
Yeah.
it. So just
How many days or hours was that?
that was for them, they spent a week there, but I only spent like 3 days, I
Wow.
think. We
Three
can talk,
days?
but at just certain times in the day.
Okay.
But most of the
Okay.
time, you just stay in
Wow.
silence, yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
just in deep meditation and
Sure.
prayer.
Sure.
But anyway, so yeah, that's a challenge for me, and the more I can practice it, if I can show it, I think that would be what I call a mission for me.
Mm.
And the more I practice it, it's just keep getting better at it, just be a good person, and I think it will um what do you call this? People will catch on to it. I think it's I have faith in that.
Okay.
I have faith in the church is in a terrible state
Mm.
as we speak. It's not looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I follow the Vatican news
Oh,
all day
really?
now, so
Okay. Interesting.
there's a lot of division. Yeah, it's not a good, when I came back, I thought it was just gonna be like a party thrown at you, like welcome back. But when I came back, I was like, what the heck is going on here? There's like people are even there are different groups who are in disagreement are having like a terrible fits with each other.
Really?
Yeah, so it's in a terrible state now. But
Really?
I have faith because according to scripture, even the gates of hell will not never prevail against the church. So it stood for 2000 years. It's going to remain standing even if it gets destroyed, but the core of it or the spirit of it will never be destroyed according to the scriptures. I have to have faith, so I pray for the church every day. It's the best
Mm.
I can do. Uh, but it's beautiful. Yeah, yeah,
Do
that's
you one thing I'm curious about because obviously we have to try and as much as possible to move further away from a life of sin.
yeah,
Now that you've gone back to the church, are there practices now that help you deal with those, whether they're current or former or, just addictions in general, of, modern life, because there are so many
yeah,
that we can get addicted to so easily. In a practical sense, like how do you use your religion to move away from those sins? Obviously, it's never perfect, so
yeah.
that's not my question because nobody can do that.
Well, there's
But
yeah. I think especially with modern life, it's really difficult. But it does help a lot. For example, if you struggle with lust, I think a lot of people are struggling with
oh no, no doubt about it.
pornography,
Oh
lust.
yeah, it's
With
huge right now.
yeah, so it can, if you really want to, help you with overcoming that particular sin. Like for example, if lust. So okay, how do I get rid of lust? Lust in scriptures, Jesus did say that even if you look at a woman with lust, you're already committing adultery.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
It's truly, I tell you.
yeah.
If you look at a woman with lust, you're committing adultery. I'm a
Uh-huh.
married man. I'm
Right,
not supposed to be looking at other people with lust.
right, right, right.
Of course, I'm an animal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We have what we call instincts, right?
Right.
So
Built in. Yeah,
yeah. So even if I don't act on it, right? Is it good? Is it bad? For
right.
me, I have to really try and eliminate that from my. My focus should be when I look at people, I wouldn't look at them with that kind of with those eyes. I should be
Mm,
looking at people as holy, as like the creation. This is the image of of God. So I should
uh-huh.
be looking at people with love, with agape,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
So that's what Christ wants us to do, and I try to practice that. And if
Yeah.
I commit lust in my heart, I confess it
Yeah. Yeah,
to a
yeah.
priest, and then I'll try again.
Okay.
So we have the sacrament of reconciliation. That's one thing I love about the church because there's a difference between just praying to God, asking for forgiveness,
Uh-huh.
and actually going to confession.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that you can't just pray to God and be
Yeah,
forgiven?
and I still do, but
Uh,
whether you believe it or not, in Catholicism, the priest has an authority to. It's not him actually. It's God who has the authority to, but they are the representatives of Christ, right?
Yeah,
So they have
sure.
the they're not the ones, of course, still Jesus who forgives you, but you go through them.
Mm.
It's a tradition even way before when
Sure,
the
sure.
early Christians would confess their sins in front of other people.
Uh-huh.
So they would
Uh-huh.
stand there and say, I cheated on my wife. I did this. I stole. Forgive me. The earliest Christians, they would practice that before. So
Really?
there's a long history there. But in the Catholic tradition, I like that practice where I go to the
Mm.
church because I actually make an effort.
Okay.
I wait in line for 2 hours in, in the cathedral.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes. But I found a good church that's just nearby that just not a lot of people know that uh,
Yeah.
there's a confession there. It's
Okay.
going to say John Vianney. Anybody who's interested every Friday at 4:30 p.m. onwards, you can go there. It's here at Kamamanaan. So it's open for confession. There's a
Okay.
really good priest there. I pray for that priest every day
Okay.
who will listen to confessions.
Wow.
And I go
Yeah.
there as
That's
often as I can.
2 hours, huh?
Yeah, because I cannot, as a Catholic, take the Eucharist under the state of mortal sin.
Right, right, right.
So for us Catholics, the Eucharist is our mana.
Yeah.
So it's everything.
Knowing that we are human
Mhm.
and every priest is a human, right? And
Yeah.
we all live in a life of sin. Um, how do you wrestle with that? Like, I'm confessing to this guy who's a human
Mm.
who lives in sin, who we all know there are plenty of stories of
Yeah.
priests,
Yes. Not.
right? And I'm not saying just because he's a priest, he's a pedophile
Yeah.
or something like that. Obviously,
But there are cases
yeah,
where.
obviously, right? So anyone can be do sinful things.
Yeah.
I'm not nitpicking here, but I'm just saying we're all human. The priest is human.
Yeah.
How do you struggle with that reality?
Well, in terms of
Not here, please.
confession, you can always go to different parishes if you don't like the priest or doing confession in that particular parish.
Over there, Day.
So there are options that we can have. I happen to like the the one in St. John
Okay.
Vianney is really
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
then plus confession is very private. And a priest is not allowed, even if you murdered somebody, to divulge any information. If they did, they would be excommunicated just like that.
Uh,
That's a no. So you can have an assurance that the priest would not, even under even if the police even if I'm not mistaken, even the government cannot compel them to
over there, Day.
spill anything, whatever you you confess to the priest.
Okay.
So you can have at least an assurance of total what do you call this? Eh, confidentiality. Yeah, it's just
Interesting.
between you and God. It's just representing their.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a struggle. Obviously,
Yeah.
um, we have to accept the reality that we're all humans. So
Mm.
obviously, like you said, the guy has a authority through the church to be the representative.
Mm. Well,
So
there are different views. I mean, some denominations they don't need to go to a priest. They just I see nothing. I don't really disagree with that because
uh
it's a different belief. I just, as a Catholic, I like that going to that sacrament. It's a very important sacrament too
yeah.
in a Catholic life. Like going to confession and then spending time there. And even before going to the confession, I would do a round of rosary to help me
Mm,
reflect on my whatever I want to purge from from my soul.
yeah,
So
I
I
see.
do that. I do that practice, and it helps. So I understand why there is the sacrament of confession now. For me, I found it to be a waste of time because I used to do. I could just, ask God forgive me,
Uh-huh.
even in my mind before.
So what is it that you appreciated about it now?
uh, Other than it's a sacrament, so it's one of the seven sacraments in.
Yeah, yeah,
But other
sure.
than that, yeah, it's the effort
Okay,
yeah, that,
okay.
that you have to do.
The
Plus,
physical effort of going to the priest and
yeah, and
through
even
that.
just having
There's something about that connection with the
with
priest
another
that
human being
another
that
human
that
being.
understands because they study theology and all that. They
Uh-huh.
spend their lives doing that, so
Uh,
they would at least can guide you. They don't just give you penance after like do 5 Hour Fathers. have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
A confession doesn't have to be like too formal. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. My last confession was 6 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you just
Yeah.
start, you can have a conversation with a good priest, especially.
Yeah.
One would it be judgmental or
I bring that up because I remember one of the issues that question my view about the church were those news reports about priests and
Yeah, yeah,
the terrible things that have been
abusive ones,
done
yeah.
and how the church just
And
kind of
God
like
have mercy on their soul. That's
yeah.
one thing I can say.
And then I don't know if I can't remember exactly. My memory is a little bit cloudy about it, but
Mm,
if I remember right, the criticism about those issues were the bigger issue was that the church was not because they have their own law apparently, right? Is that right? So in order for them to be brought to trial, they have their own process or
yeah.
their own procedures, and then I don't know, I can't remember
They
exactly,
would just
but
relocate them to
yeah,
certain areas
that was
without
that
even
was
enacting
yeah,
justice.
right.
Yeah, that's true.
So families and all of us, right? Like
Mm,
as followers of this church, you're showing a terrible example by just brushing it under the rug,
yep,
basically,
it
right?
happened. Yes.
And that for me, that like cemented why I should not be Catholic, right? At
Mm.
the time when those things were happening, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely not for
Yeah, I
me.
wrestle with that too. Like, how can I even promote this church or even with myself? Like knowing a lot of history with it has some um, the dark times
Oh
associated with
yeah. Oh
for
yeah.
2,000 years. I mean, there's a lot that went murders, even a pope
Mhm.
who had lots of illegitimate
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Pope
Those stories are
Borgia.
all over the place.
Yes,
From all up and down the whatever corporate ladder, if you want to call it,
yeah. So,
right?
so some or even some bishops are so corrupt. Some
Yeah.
even until now they're still
I mean, we
they're
can
still
find
there.
local examples, right?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
I've seen the priest driving around in Raptor pickup trucks. I'm like, bro, you really need a Raptor pickup truck here in Cagayan de Oro? Come on, man.
yeah. That's why when you get into Mariology, every time Mama Mary appears,
Okay.
or we call it apparitions, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So she would always ask, one of her requests would always be to pray for our Pope, our priests, our bishops,
Okay.
the religious, because they're the ones who are spiritually under attack
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
So so yeah, every before a rosary, that would be my first I pray for the church. That would be my first like intention
Yeah.
for the Pope, the priests, especially them, because they we can only live their lives for like a week. I mean, only just
Yeah.
doing funerals all day,
I can't imagine.
listening to
Yeah.
sinful people.
For hours.
Imagine the psyche that
Probably some people go crazy.
it takes a special kind of individual to be able to perform
Sure.
those duties.
Sure. I
So
can't imagine
yeah,
doing an
so
exorcism.
I have a different kind of appreciation for them now. Especially, I'll tell you a story about my first confession in a long time.
Okay.
That was really, I think, the moment when I realized, okay, I'm going back home, because I think that was last year. Yeah,
Going back.
going back home, and I'm done with this rebellion.
Oh, okay, okay. I got you. I got you. So what happened?
Yeah, so I decided, okay, what's the first thing I should do other than doing some prayers, rosary? So confess. Okay, I've confessed before, but it's a long time,
Okay.
probably more than a decade or something.
Yeah.
Or even if I did a confession during my wedding, that wasn't even like a real confession
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I wasn't atheist.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a believer when I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
married. So
Right.
kind of ironic. I couldn't find any priests because that was the Christmas season last year.
Um,
So there were no priests available at that time, no
okay.
confessions because they were busy near Christmas. It
Okay.
was like on the 22nd
Okay. Yeah. Busy time of the
December,
year for sure.
very
For
busy
sure.
time. So I remembered the priest who um officiated her wedding is not really that close, but he knew my mother and the family, Father Hill. I love you, Father Hill. So I remembered he was just near here, there in
Okay.
St. John Vianney.
Yeah.
So I just decided, screw it, I'll just try one last time.
Okay.
maybe he's there, maybe he's not. So I took my bike, went there, went biking up there,
Okay.
found him,
Okay.
and then I asked him, "Hey, Father, if it's okay, I'd like to do a confession. I cannot go to church this Christmas and take the Eucharist under this state.
Yeah.
So I just like to if you don't mind." She said, "Yes, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll confess
Okay.
it for you. Come on."
Okay.
So I went there, and then I just started listening, and so
Okay.
I just poured it all on him. He just listened,
Just raining in sin.
didn't judge me, didn't even say I was a terrible person.
Sure, sure.
Just
I
it,
hope not.
yeah, he just you know, even just told me just keep praying. I'll keep praying for you and all that. I
Okay.
also told him I'll pray for you, Father, as well. And after that, there was just when I went biking back down after the confession, it just started raining and everything was just perfect. And
Wow.
I just felt this like weight
Like a
off of my
cleanse almost,
yeah,
huh?
it's just like this weight off of my shoulders, like the whole weight of the world was just gone for that moment. It
Yeah.
just felt so freeing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting. So that was my first confession in a very long time. And I just started practicing it lately. Like
Mm.
every Friday, as much as I can, before I go to Mass on Sundays, I go to confession and I love it. This that sacrament is really good. And I understand why they call it the sacrament of reconciliation, because the more you sin, the more you are separated from God. And to be separated from God is the worst thing that can happen to
Mm.
a soul, to a Christian soul. So I choose not to take the Eucharist if I'm under the state of mortal sin. That's why I have to
Uh-huh.
confess.
Sure.
I'm not saying I'm just going to confess so I can take the Eucharist and just do the sin next
I
week.
see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I try to work on that.
There's an intention.
Yeah, there's an intention. So it actually takes like a spiritual practice of some sort that it's quite it's difficult, but it's doable. I mean, I'm just the biggest sinner in the room
Yeah.
wherever
No,
we go, but
we
I
all are.
try. Yeah, I
Yeah.
try. And yeah, that was pretty good. That's why I love the sacrament of confession. I encourage any Catholic who was listening, who's not hasn't practiced that to try it. It's really good. While waiting, if you're waiting in line, just do the rosary and just say the words and reflect. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because right now the where we are in kind of our experience as homeschoolers, because um the time when we started homeschooling, I chose a Christian oriented
Mm,
homeschool platform because you can choose some that are not, right?
yeah.
There are some neutral that don't emphasize it. And but initially I chose it because, the wife is how do I say? I don't want to say she's more into religion. Like, I'll just call myself agnostic. I'm not really sure. I don't identify with anything particular
Yeah.
at that time. And but it's like I feel like I'm tiptoeing in and out of the religion right now. It almost
Mm,
feels like it's like, what am I really doing? Because I'm talking about I'm talking about this higher power that I believe in,
mm,
that I feel very strongly about. Like there's um it's hard to kind of summarize it in a short few sentences, but there have been multiple times where I felt like I should not be alive right now.
yeah.
People that I've hung out with before are
Yeah.
dead. My own personal experience with health, like I
Yeah.
should be dead. And then the journey through parenting and how that led me to homeschool was, I feel like, from another power. Like there's no way, I found these books in the secondhand bookshop,
Mm,
right? Of all the books that caught my attention. And then the a week later I meet people, a parent that's doing it, and then it's just like, there's no way this is all by chance, because I don't believe in a coincidence. I haven't
mm,
believed in coincidence for a
yeah.
long time, because if you believe in a coincidence, there you don't have any appreciation for that thing to have, like, for two people to have met at that point in
Yeah.
time. There's so
It's just
much
it's
that
just,
had to happen before
yeah.
that.
It's too convenient to call it a
Yeah,
coincidence,
it's
right?
too convenient. There's no way. So there it feels so much like it was meant to be that way, like a design, some people call it, right?
Mm.
And so I feel like I'm tiptoeing back and forth into the faith, whatever it might be. So it's like kind of like a mental struggle in a way
Mm.
where, you know, uh my wife is more religious. She
Mm.
identifies as religious,
Yeah.
but doesn't practice religious. Um,
Mm.
and I feel like uh maybe that's because I'm tiptoeing, as the leader in the household, who does have a belief in a higher
Higher power.
power, but not taking the full dive back into, yeah, go ahead, into religion, because I've had my own personal
Mm.
doubts and struggles with it. Um, I wonder if that I don't expect it, like if I were to go and dive back in, like that would fix things,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like that, I think that's probably not what I'm saying. But maybe there is a reason why there are some conflicts or struggles in our family, because as the leader, I'm not taking that full dive back in. I'm just like agnostic. I'm like, yeah, there is a higher
Mm.
power, this is a design, but I'm not taking any sides about it.
Mm.
And then yet, we exchange information all the time. We see the struggles of life and the reality that we live in, and all the attacks that are happening to the family
Yeah,
structure and
yeah.
what's going on in this craziness.
Yeah, that's also one thing that kind of convinced me
Yes. Yeah.
of this path because of that. As you said, why is this being attacked right now specifically?
Yeah, you brought that up
Yeah, yeah, the
to my
family.
attention, and
Yeah.
and it's like I wasn't paying, like I see the news and I listen to the reports, and
Mm.
so I understand that those are realities, but I'm like, until you said it was like a specific attack on the family, I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like, why is that?
Yeah.
Like,
And it's
I
even
can
like
see it.
being forced down into our throats
Yeah,
even
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, hold on.
yeah.
There's something here.
And people were always complaining, "Oh, don't force your religion on me."
Yeah.
But then it's like, what exactly? That was the thing that I liked about that quote about freedoms. Like, is
Mm.
it the freedom to choose within the world of sin? Is that really the
Mm.
freedom that you
That
choose?
yeah.
Because if I'm looking at my freedom, I think my freedom within the confines of these commandments
Mm.
make way more sense
Yeah.
than the freedoms that I'm looking at out here in
Yeah.
this fucked up world.
Yeah, when we had freedom before, like as you
That's
said,
what we called
yeah,
freedom, right?
when
We
we
call
went
that
about our
freedom.
way and then just doing all those drugs before.
Yeah, we call that freedom. But man, that was definitely a trap,
Yeah,
right? Like
just being
that was a
promiscuous and
prison.
all. Yeah.
That was a prison. That
Oh
was
man.
not freedom. I
Yeah.
call that a prison.
Yeah.
Anyone who says that life of sin is you want to go screw and swipe screw somebody, swipe screw another
Mm.
person, like that, dude, that's like I don't know.
Yeah, it's a trap.
That's a trap, dude. I can't. That's the only way to describe it, man. Like
Yeah.
I lived most of my life like that.
Yeah.
You
And of
know,
course, we wouldn't want
freedom.
our sons or daughters to be going through the same thing. I wouldn't promote
No,
that sin to them.
not the way I did it.
Yeah,
Not the
exactly.
way
So
I did it.
stay away from those
That,
things.
although, that's why I say I don't want her to be anything like me. Because
Yeah.
if you're anything like me, man, you're
Yeah.
gonna be messed up for a while.
Oh man. Yeah,
So,
so there as you said, yeah, it's not a coincidence at all why we had to go through those, I would even call it suffering.
oh
So
yeah, that was a long time of suffering.
yeah.
Long time of suffering. I'm still suffering, but that's why I recognize I was the furthest away from God at those times when, like, I'm at my worst, right? Like I was my the worst health I've had was probably at the time where, I had to find my way again because I was so far gone, I had drifted so far apart, so far away. I gotta tread, man, a long way. I gotta go oceans, right? Like
Mm.
it's been a long struggle. But now in this time of parenting, I felt like I've been given more opportunities. What do you call it? A second chance? I don't even feel like it's a
Yeah.
second chance. I feel like there's been so many chances.
Plus,
But
we've been gifted with the chance of having a family. I mean, that's one
yeah,
thing that I'm glad I'm still alive, man.
yeah.
Be able to experience this.
Yeah, and that's an interesting connection that I think that you made with your own father when
Yeah.
saying that if he was still around, you would give anything for more time
Yeah.
because you're talking about a death, right? And I
Mm,
feel like although I haven't experienced like that kind of death, obviously, I feel like I've I've almost died, right? So
mm,
like that's what drives a lot about my parenting, and I feel like that's what you're saying about yours
yeah.
is because when you're parenting journey, you're thinking about this death, right? And
Mm,
um that influences the way you parent. And I think that's an important thing to recognize that those things that eventually will come for us, right?
yeah.
That
Yeah.
will shape the way we live now.
Yeah.
Um so it's a struggle. Like I haven't I'll just tell you on your birthday, I went to the first Bible study probably since I can't even remember the last Bible study, but
Last
on your
October.
birthday,
Oh, okay,
on your
October
birthday, yeah.
19th. Yeah.
I went to a Bible study with
Nice.
some homeschooling
Wow.
fathers, and it was quite a pleasant experience,
Mm,
and to do something like that on a Saturday night where people aren't drinking and getting drunk and doing, going to the bar and
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
things that I've done, plenty of before. So it was great to be around other fathers who, we get to discuss
Sad journey.
struggles in life, and the other fathers were also expressing their gratitude towards the group because we get to do those things, share our struggles
Yes.
and understand that we're not the only ones struggling
Yeah.
as parents, right?
Especially in today's modern world, man, we need like more. I think, God, this is just my opinion. We need more like strong Christians in this world. Just to, just to like, it's just becoming so. It's hard to describe when you look at the world with open eyes now. So much. We've started with talking about evil.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's just becoming more and more just dark. Everything. We're not even like. I mean, come to think of it, it's just any day could be the start of another great war, like worldwide, right?
Oh
We
yeah.
recognize that, and then it's
Yeah.
just like a fact of life for us now. So how do we prepare for that? I mean, we can just say, okay, whatever happens, happens. But part of that strengthening of our of at least ourselves or in preparation for any of that is just it's just to instill that for me. This faith just gives us that drive to keep going no matter what happens and to be in the light, of course, not to fall into the darkness, even if the world is just falls apart in front of us.
Yeah, and I like what you were mentioning earlier about you pray for other people and instead of
I try to at least. I
yeah.
still get mad at a lot of
Obviously
people.
it's a struggle,
Yeah.
right? But I think that kind of helps because that's one thing that's a big conflict with me is like seeing people promote religion but yet still practice sin.
Mm,
And how do you deal with that, like seeing, just like going back to when I was
yeah.
younger, that's how I grew up. I
Yeah.
was going to church. I saw my father doing adultery, and someone so basic at such a basic level, like I felt like the religion was such a failure, and
Yeah.
that's why I drifted so far from it because
Yeah.
at an early time I saw this figure in our household that was supposed to be practicing this religion and yet
Mm,
made me so confused. And so I've had to deal with that conflict. And now, and even today, like I'm still like people who I'll go to their places and see that they're clearly um
true.
in sin,
Yep.
whether it's maybe I just see gluttony or lust in
Lust,
their
especially.
lives.
Yeah.
Like that's still a struggle for me,
Yeah,
man.
that's a
Like,
very good. That's a very good point. And I think that for me, this is just my opinion. This is why the saints are very important in the especially in the Catholic world because they have displayed what it means to be. a Christian. The
Mm.
saints have done their that's why we venerate them. We put them on our just you remember like having posters of Michael Jordan or whoever your idols are.
Sure. Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
your favorite baseball player
Yeah,
before?
yeah, yeah.
You would put them on the wall, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's the same with it's not idolatry at all.
Okay.
When I put
Okay.
pictures of saints, there's one there, Saint who's there? Saint Michael, of course, the archangel.
Okay.
I have Saint Nicholas, Saint Joseph, of course.
All
Every
right.
father should have Saint Joseph.
Okay.
They have displayed all their and they're real people. Saint Padre Pio. There's videos of them. There's just one saint who recently became canonized. Blessed Carlo Acutis is the first millennial saint. He
Mm-hmm.
died at 15 years old at 2000. When was that? 2006. He was just um, canonized recently by Pope Francis. And this guy is just different. It's just, the way he thinks at that age, man. He spends his instead of buying new shoes, he would just go to the what do you call homeless people and would just give some of his that money to buy them shoes instead.
Okay.
And
Oh,
when
wow.
he died, a lot of people turned up to his funeral were homeless,
Wow.
poor people because
Really?
he spent his life and he loved video games. He's just a normal teenager, and he
Yeah.
died.
He is a father.
Huh?
He was a father?
No, he's
A family man?
no, he's 15. That's why when he
15.
died, yeah,
Wow.
imagine
He
that.
died at 15 years old?
Yeah, he died of leukemia, and he actually for I guess there was a vision. He had a vision that he was gonna die of
Wow.
some sort, and then there
Really?
were miracles attributed to his healing miracles attributed to him because you can't be a saint if there were no miracles. And yeah, sometimes they would exhume your body and you would be incorruptible. So it's a very long process to become a saint.
Wow.
That's like sometimes could take hundreds of years. For him, it was pretty fast, actually. But
Interesting.
we have the saints, and we call it in Catholic theology dulia. There's different kinds of we only worship one God, of course. It's what we call latria in the Catholic tradition. And it's exclusive worship for God because that would be idolatry if you would worship another
Mm.
another thing, right?
Okay.
So dulia is a worship of the saints, not worship, it's a veneration of the saints and angels. Hyperdulia is exclusive to our very own Mother Mary. That's above the saints and angels, but not equal to God, which is
Okay.
latria.
Okay.
So there's this sometimes misconception of the Catholic faith where we're practicing idolatry
Uh,
because we have
yeah, yeah,
statues,
yeah.
right?
Sure, 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 sure.
It's the same. It's iconography, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it helps
Sure.
us visualize
Yeah. You want to
their lives. Yeah, and
embody
every time
something
when
about
I
that.
ask them to pray for me, I would try to emulate them. Like I
Mm.
want to be like you. I
Yeah.
want to be as good as you.
Yeah.
To
They're a guide.
yeah, they're kind of like these lampposts or
Yeah.
these
North Star
yeah,
kind of.
North Star. The saints are very powerful figures in the Catholic sphere. That's why I love being Catholic because there's lots of examples. 2,000 years, man. There's
Yeah.
like you have a saint for all seasons. We call it a
Okay.
saint for anything. You're a teacher. There's a saint. There's a teacher, Saint LaSalle,
Oh,
where I went to
interesting.
school. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
there are educators. There are even sinners. Saints are also sinners. They're very human. That's
Interesting.
why I love them because when I read
Okay.
about their lives and then how they went from this type of sinner, even one of their greatest saints was the one who persecuted the early Christian, the first Christian, Saint Paul.
Uh,
He had one of the apostles killed, Saint Stephen, stoned to death, and
wow.
he had lots of Christians killed. And then he had this famous road to Damascus where Jesus showed up to him and asked him, why are you persecuting me or my people? And he had this conversion, and he became one of the greatest figures in Christianity.
Wow.
See, Saul,
I guess
Saint Paul.
I got a lot of reading up to do.
Yeah, so that's why I love. They're very human. That's why I love
Yeah.
the
Some
story of
good
the
stories
saints.
there, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we don't they don't worship them. We
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
just
Right, right,
venerate
right,
them.
right, right.
Like when I
Yeah.
see Michael Jordan as a basketball player,
Yeah.
I love Michael Jordan, but I
Yeah.
don't worship Michael
Yeah, yeah,
Jordan.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
If I want to be a good basketball player, I follow that guy's advice.
Sure. So let's end it on that.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
what one thing that you'd advise for someone that is kind of like in my situation, or maybe someone who's totally not, maybe they're like you before, they're atheist
Mm,
or agnostic or wherever they might be in their journey in life.
mm.
How would you try to give them the elevator pitch for going back to the or going to Catholicism.
Well, of course, I don't wanna tell them anything what to believe because I sincerely believe that each and every individual should have the right to believe in whatever.
Sure.
I'm a huge believer in that. But at the same time, if you're struggling in life, if you have questions, God will always be there to answer you. One of the famous, not famous, but one of the in scriptures that I love is Jeremiah 3:33, call to me and I will answer you and I will show you great and magnificent things that you do not know yet. So maybe I botched that, but that's something like it's a, it goes that way. So don't be afraid to talk to God if you're struggling. I'm not saying if you don't believe, then you'll be condemned or so that's the way my own experience, it happened that way. So I believe in it. And if you choose to, good things can come with it. It allows for you to be a better person, I believe. And I have faith in people instead of having none at all. In every individual, even among the worst of us, there can be salvation. So I was one of the worst probably individual that I know personally, and I can be. I'm not saying I'm good now,
Sure.
but
Sure.
I have the chance to be better
Yeah. Yeah.
each and every waking moment. So that's it. And I'll pray for all of you, of course. I pray for conversions of sinners, especially, including myself. And please pray for me if you're a believer. We all need that especially these days.
Hmm.
And yeah, just have faith.
Right on, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, before we go, I do have a gift for you. I've been giving away medals for quite some time now.
Medals. All right.
You don't have to wear it because you can just put it in your bag. It's one of the most popular sacramentals. It's a Saint Benedict medal.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, you can
Got
just put it in
gifts
your
today,
bag.
man.
It's
Nice.
already blessed. So
Saint Benedict.
yeah, it's one of the most popular sacramentals. It's gonna protect
Ah,
you from evil forces.
nice, man. Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Oops.
just keep
Saint
it. And,
Benedict, Medal of Saint Benedict. Right
yeah,
on. Thank you very much.
yeah. There's
Uh,
an inscription there because it's in Latin. So,
okay.
but it wards
Awesome, man.
away, or it reminds you to be vigilant about evil, or just telling them to get away from me.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We
That's
all need that more and more these
yeah,
days.
translation
No
from
doubt about
the
it.
medal.
I
Anyway,
appreciate that, man. Thank you very
yeah, no
much.
problem, man. So thanks. Thank you all for listening to our yeah, it's sundown already.
Yeah, it's time for you to go to church, bro. You're gonna be
No, I
late.
already went actually this morning.
Oh, you did?
So
I thought you gotta go.
I
Okay.
was still gonna go with them if they
Okay.
choose to.
Okay, okay. Got it,
Okay,
got
I
it.
just went ahead because there's a good chance they wouldn't go to church. So at least I already went.
The struggles of the struggles of the truth finder.
So anyway,
So we're talking about, bro.
thank you all if you're still here and hanging out. It's been it's been a blast, and
Yeah, man.
well, we hope to do this again. And maybe next time we'll talk about you're gonna talk about your journey.
We could. I'm not quite there yet, but
Yeah, but who knows? Yeah, doesn't have to be faith or
sure,
whatever.
sure.
We can have another one. And thank you guys. Happy Sunday, and God
Sunday.
bless you all.